Welcome back to an episode of the Entry for One podcast. As always, I'm your host, Josue Hernandez. And in this week's episode, we're going to be reviewing and discussing The Ballad of Buster Scruggs, written and directed by the Coen Brothers. On this week's episode, we're joined by a new face, David Orozco.
Hello. I like good movies.
And Chandler Treyon.
Welcome, David.
Thank you, Chandler.
Hi, David.
Hi, Josue.
So The Ballad of Buster Scruggs, directed by the Coen Brothers, is an anthology film comprised of 6 stories, each dealing with a different aspect of life in the old Western frontier. This movie is 25 years in the making. They mentioned that the first story was started with The Ballad of Buster Scruggs, the first episode, about 25 years ago, and then it kind of just got worked on as the years progressed, but they never really made it into a movie or show just because the episodes were so short up until about 9 years ago, and they decided to kind of make it into a movie. Released this year, this November 9th, 2018. It's about close to 2.5 hours long, so it had some pretty good length, but for it being episodic, it kind of makes sense, the length for this movie.
I think it's the longest Coen Brother film.
I believe
and
so.
the only one that's not shot on film. It's their first digital.
Oh.
Yeah, and I watched an interview with them, and they kind of talked about that and how the reason they decided to have Netflix produce and distribute their movie was because to them, a lot of studios are starting to focus on big blockbuster movies for the most part, superhero movies and big budgeted movies, and this being a smaller kind of storyline, I mean, they found that Netflix would be the best home for this movie.
Yeah, I definitely couldn't see this being in theaters, but I feel like Netflix suited it. It was so just chill to watch it.
Yeah, I mean, you could obviously see it as a TV show, but for them to be this short, I think it works better as being an anthology.
Right.
Yeah, for sure.
Coen Brothers have made it clear that they don't want to do a TV show of anything.
Yeah, they had multiple questions during an interview, and they were like, no, this was always supposed to be a film. And yeah, I mean, it makes sense too. It's more of a chapter book that gets completed in one sitting instead of having to be split up. Especially the way kind of it starts off as this John Ford-esque movie-like, and then it kind of goes downwards from there as far as tone of the movie. But yeah, I mean, this movie's 6 chapters in total. But I guess we'll just get into our quick first impressions and reviews on it. David, what'd you think on this movie?
I thought it was really good. I enjoyed almost all of the stories. I feel like they're all really strong, and I just like how they almost feel like Aesop fables in a way, because it kind of ends bad for some of them, but you almost feel like, oh, well, that's why that happened, But I thought it was really good. What
about you, Chandler? What'd you think?
I mean, you guys know how I feel about it. As soon as I finished it, I texted you guys. It's my favorite movie of 2018. I've got a weakness for westerns, and this one was just
no, yeah, really definitely.
There's just so much. There's so many philosophical questions in every one of the episodes, and it just made me want to just write a paper about every single one of them.
What's the last Western movie to come out? I mean, I guess Hell or High Water. If y'all watched that would be one of the better.
Lord knows
Westerns. With Mr. Chris Pine and Jeffrey Bridges. But yeah, I mean, I don't think we come across good Westerns every now and then. It's kind of been more of a here and there type of deal. It's not too common of a genre that's made nowadays. I guess
I feel like the Coen Brothers.
Yeah.
Sorry.
No, go ahead.
Oh, I was just gonna say, I feel like the Coen Brothers are really good at westerns. I feel like most of the good westerns that come out are from the Coen, True Grit and No Country for Old Men, even though it's more of a neo-western, I guess.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and I mean, I guess slightly Fargo as well, kind of, sort of. It's not in the West, Old West, but it's kind of in this small town, isolated from elements. Everything else. Yeah.
It's funny. Every one of these stories just felt like a side mission in Red Dead Redemption 2.
Yeah, for real.
Especially with all the randomness that happens, it could definitely play out like something you see in a. I kind of thought of it as in if you were to do every side thing you could do in a Red Dead game, this would be all compiled into one movie.
Yeah,
You get like
doesn't.
you get the Western Front, you get the kind of magic show, you get the carriages, you get a lot of the kind of
The man
side
being hung.
quests.
Yeah,
Yeah.
fucking
Yeah, there's a lot of
panhandler.
instances. Yeah, there's a lot of it's this is in Red Dead 2 that you can like save somebody from a hanging.
Yeah,
And yeah, the panhandler one too, because I remember watching the one All Gold Canyon. The whole time I'm rooting on the guy to find the gold, but in the back of my mind, I'm like, I was playing Red Dead 2 the other day, and I shot a guy after he found the gold, and now I feel so bad.
yeah, I did that shit too. But I mean, that place also just looked like Red Dead Redemption, like especially
Yeah, the
that like
scenery.
gold miner one. Like that one reminded me so much of it. It was crazy.
Right.
Yeah, they
Yeah,
focus a lot on the landscapes in this movie. I mean, there's a wide range from the small building in the middle of the canyon to like this big. It was shot in Nebraska, so big Nebraska landscape, and you also see some of the towns. And then on the last episode, we see. Actually, we'll talk about it later, but towards
the
the
town
end, some of the buildings aren't even real buildings.
yeah.
Yeah.
The town that they roll into at the beginning of the second one, like if you look at the buildings and it's laid out, and then in the background you see a building that's like kind of just the foundation and the wood beams and everything. I was like, oh my god, is that Valentine? Like that looks exactly like that
Yeah,
street.
like it just looked so. I almost wonder, like, did they like base like the Red Dead 2 locales off this? Like, obviously they didn't, but it just looked like maybe they did. Like, it just looks so like 1-to-1 sometimes.
Yeah.
We even get a character named Arthur, so I don't know if that even made y'all think of Red Dead even
That's
more.
No,
true.
it definitely did. It definitely did.
I'm like, how can this be connected in some way?
I was like, that, like, it's crazy, but I mean, do the Coen Brothers play Red Dead? I don't
They'd
know.
have to have made the movie real fast.
Would y'all
From
want to see a
October to
Red Dead
November.
movie?
No.
No.
No. The games are an experience in themselves. Making
Yeah.
a movie out of them would just take all of that personal element out of it.
I feel
Next
like you can't
month.
just condense all that.
This is the Red Dead movie.
Yeah.
Next month, breaking news: Red Dead movie being written and directed by the Coen Brothers.
I'll only
Chris
watch it if it's
Pratt.
about helping that guy find his friend Gavin. That's all I want. That's all I want.
Oh,
Gabby
does
Gav.
that guy have a mission?
Well, no, you just see him randomly, and throughout the entire game, he's looking for Gavin, and then he never finds him.
Yeah, I was like, what does he want? I tried to help him. I couldn't.
Yeah, no, he never finds him. Spoiler.
But yeah, I mean this anthology had a pretty big cast. It had James Franco, Liam Neeson, Brandon
Our
Gleeson,
boy Dudley.
Tim Blake
Yeah.
Nelson, Tom Waits, and Zoe Kazan. So this is a pretty large cast. There's a major list on IMDb of hundreds, not hundreds, but over close to about a 50, 60 people that were casted for this
Stephen
movie.
Root. My man Stephen Root from King of the Hill.
Our boy Dudley's in it. He made it.
And there's actually a second guy from Harry Potter.
You might know him as Dudley.
Is there?
Yeah, it's I'll let you know right now.
I thought that the guy in the one of the carriage, I think it was the Irish guy in the carriage at the last one. I thought he might have been Hagrid, but he wasn't. So
Oh, but I did think that guy was in Harry Potter too.
Here we
The
go.
Mortal Remains one.
Harry Milling, he's in the meal ticket episode.
Oh, I don't think I would have recognized.
Oh,
And yeah, he's been in basically all.
yeah.
Oh,
Wait, no,
he's the guy who
no, wait,
plays
hold on.
No, that's
He's
that's
Dudley. Sorry.
Yeah.
Brandon Gleeson also happens to be in the
Brandon
Harry
Gleeson.
Potter movies.
Is he the guy from Mortal Remains?
Oh, I see him. Yeah, he was the Irishman. Yeah, so I thought I
Oh, okay,
recognized him. I don't know what he was in Harry Potter.
Wasn't
but
he?
Uh,
I remember him being in the.
oh,
He was Mad Eye Moody.
yeah, Mad Eye Moody. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's funny. I feel like they could have made this movie without like this all-star cast. It could have been no names, and it probably would have been just the same. I almost feel like they hired actors like Liam Neeson to be in this movie just so people would watch it. Like it would draw their attention. when they're scrolling by it on Netflix? Because he says like
Yeah.
3 lines.
Yeah, I felt like I don't know, like a Wes Anderson movie where there's just like these renowned actors doing like small roles.
Right.
I mean, they did mention that they've been working on this for about 25 years now, so I'm wondering if they maybe already had the people they wanted to be in these roles in mind already.
Maybe.
Because
Maybe,
someone had
yeah.
asked them, is there other with these characters, did you plan for them to be in other roles or vice versa? Is there any of the actors that were casted that would like to play something else? And they kind of say that they kind of already had an idea as they were writing who they wanted for these roles. Obviously, it being 25 years ago is quite a long time ago, but I think they probably maybe had an idea just from previous work or run-ins with them. I don't know.
They must have just watched Harry Potter and were like, we need Dudley and we need Madam.
But yeah, I mean, I agree. This film is one of my favorites this year for sure. Every story in this film has a lot of the same stuff, but just enough to make it very different from themselves. Especially as it starts and ends, it gets much darker as it progresses. I thought it was going to be an entirely,
Goofy, like the first one.
yeah,
Yeah.
I thought it was going to be very much like the
Self-reflexive.
first one. But no, it definitely changes. It kind of gets darker, and the tone changes quite a lot from the first one.
Yeah.
But of course, with the Coen Brothers, the screenplay is just amazing. I mean, I think through the Coen Brothers, it brings out the best out of these actors just because how well it's written. There's never like
Right.
an awkward time of
Yeah.
like, did they just really say that? um,
Yeah.
the
And
cinematography I think was awesome. Just the way they capture the landscapes or the interactions with these characters. Um,
The
the
creativity is just ridiculous, especially
yeah.
in the first one.
yeah, the first one's
God,
just bonkers.
I love that. That was
um,
so good.
That one's probably the most problematic in terms of realism, obviously, but it's
Yeah.
it's
It was like
it's
played
so
for
good.
laughs. Yeah.
yeah, it just goes. I mean, if it like you said, like if it was a western but with gaming elements added to it and just randomness that could potentially happen out of nowhere. Yeah, the first one definitely stands out. But the rest kind of add a more dramatic tone to them. The set design, the costume design, it's all great. I really enjoyed this film, and I could see it being a TV show, but I think it works much better as a all-in-one package anthology film. And I think it
Right.
worked out for
Yeah.
them. It being 20 years in the making, it definitely paid off. It would have been an interesting theatrical run if they decided to do it. I know it did a limited run, very limited in some
Oh.
theaters, but it wasn't nothing major the way traditional distribution goes for something like this. It being Coen Brothers, I'm sure it would have gotten a decent take home at the box office, but I don't think it would have been something massive. It's gonna be someone that really likes Western movies and also is into the Coen Brothers work, and probably more cinephiles like Chandler.
Right. And with Netflix, I mean, they got that guaranteed payout. Like all they had to do was make the movie.
Right. There's definitely more freedom there as well. So
Yeah.
I
And
think
then I
that
mean,
partnership between the two Coens and the Netflix allowed this movie to go to where they wanted it to go, rather than where big studio would kind of mess with it.
yeah, it was like just easy watching too. Like you could just get on Netflix, be like, oh, it's that new like Coen Brothers movie, just watch it. Like a lot of the people I like asked that movie about were like, oh, I think I saw it was like new on like Netflix. I was gonna watch it.
Yeah, I mean, I didn't see a lot of advertisement for it, even like on social media. It's kind of one of those films that you had to know about it, or you just kind of casually run into on front page Netflix. Um, but if you're in some form into movies, you would have at least know who the Coen brothers are, either from No Country for Old Men or Fargo, or their large filmography that they have. So, it being front page, and now how Netflix kind of allows the trailer to run in the background as you highlight over a film, I think it does just enough to kind of reel people that aren't familiar with these guys or their work. But yeah, I really enjoyed this movie. and it came out earlier in November, so a little bit late. But if you haven't watched it yet, I would highly recommend you check it out. It's definitely worth the close to 2.5. It's 2 hours and 13 minutes in length. I will say
Right.
some of the episodes do kind of feel a little longer than needed to, but entirely it's very much worth the watch. But before we get into the spoilers, any quick last words before we get into it?
I definitely recommend watching. It's very good. Even if you don't like westerns, I feel like the themes are just very enjoyable.
Right,
What
for sure. Yeah,
what-
I would definitely agree. If you love westerns, you're gonna love this movie, and even if you don't love westerns, I feel like you're gonna love this movie. And if you don't have time to watch the full thing, that's the joy of it being episodic, is that you could stop at any time and then just come back to it. I watched it in between classes the other day, so it's pretty convenient. Definitely recommend it. Best film of 2018. That's set in stone.
It's written in the sand.
Exactly.
I think even if you might not like westerns, you'll definitely find something that you'll enjoy out of it, especially the unexpectedness you'll run into as you go through each chapter. But yeah, check it out if you have not watched it. Now we'll get into the spoiler segment. So,
Oh boy.
Bro, I was so heartbroken
right
when
into
Buster
it.
died.
Oh, dude,
was
when that
so
I was
upset.
like, oh, like when they showed the blood on the hat, I was like,
Yeah.
oh,
I knew it was gonna happen. Like I was like, there's no way this ends with Buster like just riding off into the sunset. Like, oh man.
like,
Yeah, I mean, although I knew it was episodic, I thought it was going to involve more of Buster Scruggs throughout the film itself.
Yeah,
So
I
when-
thought that too at first because his episode is so self-reflexive. He's like talking to the audience. I was like, oh, okay,
Yeah.
so Buster's gonna be our narrative for the
Right,
rest of the
yeah.
film.
yeah, I thought he was gonna be like the framing device that would sing like the stories or something. But never mind.
like at the beginning of each chapter, he would be like, "So in this chapter, the
Yes.
whole simple
Yeah.
narration."
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, he's like, "Do you need a countdown, son?" And he's like, "No," and then he just gets shot in the
No,
head
sir.
automatically.
Yeah, yeah.
I just love when they cut to that other cowboy, like his pose, like it's just
Yeah.
so goofy.
That whole episode is goofy, man. Like the best part for me was like when he didn't have a gun and he was on the other side of the poker table and the guy's pointing a gun at him, so he stamps his foot on one of like the wood planks that's part of the table, and it pops up and hits the bottom of the gun and forces the guy to shoot himself in the face.
And he does
then
it like five
three
times.
more
Yeah,
times.
three, four
Yeah.
times. Yeah.
And then that guy's just so morbidly dead.
Yeah, his
Like,
brother's like trying
goofy.
to wipe the blood off of his face.
Yeah, like
Yeah.
R.I.P.
Oh my
Surly
gosh.
Joe.
His eyes are all like it's popping out of his eye sockets, and his face is like black, I guess, from the
The
gunpowder.
gunpowder.
Yeah, and then his brother gets it worse, I feel like.
No, yeah.
Because he
Just-
pulls his brother and blows all of his fingers off. And then
We're
shoots
calling him the West Texas Twit.
And he's like, "Are you sure that wasn't the West Texas tit?"
Tit?
Yeah. Oh my
Big
gosh.
emphasis on the tit.
I think he lost the duel because he was stupid enough to fire a gun right next to his ear. And that probably like deafened his ear. He got hit, his hand-eye coordination was a little funny. Otherwise,
That's
he
the
would've won that
canonic
duel.
reason. All the
Yes.
Buster Scruggs stands. Like,
He would have won that duel.
man, my favorite part was when he was at like that first cantina and he shot up the other people, and then like he turns around and just like sees that other bartender getting the gun.
And he's like, "No, no, no."
Yeah, exactly. That was just like his face, like that. Like it really just felt like that actor was made for that role. Like it was just so good.
Yeah, that was
when he
perfect casting.
He shoots all of the guys in the bar like he's got death. And he's just
Yeah, like,
firing.
that was another like Red Dead Redemption. Like, like me looking at my PlayStation.
You can't forget that entrance though when he pats himself in the dust, stays as a shape.
Oh yeah.
That was funny.
Bro, that
There's a
scene
lot
where
that
he's
happens.
flying up.
I think that all their CGI budget went into that first episode.
with the fingers.
Well, yeah, the
Definitely.
fingers, but then
And
like
the
him floating away as an angel and everything.
oh yeah.
Yeah, so the CGI in some of the other episodes is not that great.
Yeah, that deer was a little questionable.
Yeah, let me
Yeah.
see the budget. Let me see. The budget for this was I mean even in the beginning when he's kind of singing in the canyon and the canyon singing back at him, that was pretty funny.
I just thought that was like a good song. I was getting into it when that happened.
Let me Shazam that real quick.
I wrote down my Shazam. I was like, ooh, Buster Scruggs
Yeah,
OST.
This movie definitely made Tim Blake Nelson one of my favorite actors of 2018.
Yeah. I wish I could see him again as that role. Like,
I'd
if they ever
probably,
did a
like-
sequel, I would just want that.
I could probably expect them to be like in a Quentin Tarantino movie or something like that. Not an actor we kind of get too frequently. But what was y'all's? I mean, other than this first one, which we can obviously tell that we all very much enjoyed. What other episode kind of stood out to you? I guess, or which one did you like as well?
My
I like
favorite
the
episode.
gold.
Yeah, that was my favorite. The
Yeah.
gold mining one.
Like, that one was just like beautiful, and then also just like I'm glad it ended on like a high note because I really thought that he was dead. And
He
like
lay
when
there
he turned
for
out to
quite
be
a long
alive,
time.
yeah, I was like, why is he staring at me? I kind of didn't understand that part until he got up, and I was like, oh, thank God.
Yeah, he was waiting for him to bleed out. Is what he was doing. And there's
Yeah.
like little hints of like symbolism. Like when he goes to smoke, you see his matchbox says friendship, and it's like, oh, if you guys had been friends, then maybe this would have went differently. But
Yeah,
instead,
and like,
on his trail and waiting for him to do all the work for him.
and I like when like he kills him and like leaves with his gold, and it's like, oh, he got it with his gold, but then you like think of like he killed that guy just for gold, like they were killing each other for gold, and it just kind of wraps the story in that.
Yeah, I mean, he defended himself. Let's be fair.
I mean, Lord knows, yeah.
He shot him
He
in the
earned that
back
gold
like a
fair and
coward.
square.
Did y'all ever
Yeah.
think that the owl was gonna attack him at any point? Kind of just like flying around and watching him.
That was gonna avenge him.
I thought it was watching over him, but I also thought like him taking the eggs out of the basket was symbolic of the guy shooting him in the back, because he was taking away that bird's hard work of laying those eggs and trying to nurse them into children. But when he puts them back, it's like, okay, he's not such a bad guy.
He's like, maybe just one, and he takes one and cooks
Right,
it.
he takes the one, which I guess is okay.
Yeah.
Like, yeah, it's like just what he needs.
Yeah, that's definitely one of my favorite ones. I also like the I just had it pulled up here. Give me 1 second. I really like the guy who got rattled. We get in most of these episodes, you get a lot of the when you thought that was gonna happen and something completely opposite happens. That's kind of a reoccurring thing that happens throughout these episodes. And in this one, you kind of get her. Kind of starts off with them talking at the dining table about he wasn't contagious. He didn't have a cough, and then her brother like next second ends up dying from a cough.
Yeah, they said that he died of cholera, but I feel like it's more likely he died of TB, because cholera gives you really bad diarrhea until you die, and tuberculosis is the one that gives you the bad cough.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking too. Because like, would you cough from cholera?
No, you typically wouldn't.
Yeah.
You would just shit yourself to death.
It was a combo. He went out in style.
Yeah, I thought that was pretty good too. I mean, like you mentioned that some felt a little long, and I felt like this one felt kind of long.
Mm-hmm.
Like it just kind of felt a little drawn out, but overall, I did like the story.
I enjoyed that though. Like I was like sitting there watching it and thinking, "Oh my god, this is gonna be the most boring one out of all." And then I kind of grew attached to the characters, and I don't know. I enjoyed it up until the point that he gave her the gun with 2 bullets in it. I was like, wait. Why does he have a revolver with only 2 bullets loaded in it already? Like he's just prepared for this to happen. And he doesn't think that she's going to shoot herself. Like I knew at that moment that it was not going to go well for her.
I like how none of the natives had a crossbow on them. They all had guns apparently. One crossbow would have done it for Arthur, and they all decided to run with guns. And
yeah, the natives cannot aim for shit.
For real, that really did feel like a Red Dead Redemption face-off.
Yeah, he just pulls like a rampage basically on these guys.
Yeah, Yeah, he takes cover the first wave, but then the second wave, he's like, all right, now I don't need cover. I'm just going to stand
In the middle.
of the field.
Just like, damn, and then cuts back to that girl, just like, Jesus, like, when he's like, why'd you do that?
President Pierce looking over her.
That part was interesting because I was like, did she shoot herself at the exact same moment that he shot the native? Because you would have heard a gunshot, right?
That's exactly what I actually rewatched that episode, and I thought the exact same thing. She had to, at least story-wise and the way they edited it had to be the exact same time he shot the gun.
Right.
And yeah, she's just laying there with the the bullet straight through her head.
Oh,
man. Yeah. And then it just leaves you with him walking back, and he's like trying to figure out what he's going to tell him.
Yeah, and man, I really like that shot of like where he's like, Arthur did not know what he was going to tell Nap or whatever. Like, that was used for the illustration too.
After the first episode where you find out that the quote at the bottom of the picture is going to be said at some point throughout the following episodes, where you kind of like looking for it's like, when are they going to say it? When are they going to say
like, I was like, what situation is Arthur going to say that to him? And then we found out.
Because Arthur's not important for like the most of that episode. So I'm like, why is Arthur the one that's featured? Yeah, he kind of just like he like brushes everyone off. He's just like, yeah, he's like a gruff old man. He pretends not to care.
Yeah, that's why you kind of have like a feeling of like uneasiness, almost like, well, what's gonna happen? Something's gonna happen. I was so suspicious of Arthur the whole time. I was like, Arthur's gonna do suspect shit. He's gonna like kill them for some reason. I don't know. Yeah, I thought he was gonna leave her behind so Nap could stay on as like a hand on the trail. Yeah, Matt needed that money. He needed that coin. He needed that soggy bread, you know what I'm saying? When he gives her like that dirty look while they're driving forward, it's like, all right, man. Oh, you know what? I want to change my answer. I think my favorite part of the movie is the banker running out with the pans all over him. Oh, pan shot. That's such a good scene. Yeah, that guy's Bill from King of the Hill. So like, I immediately recognized him. I was like, yes, like. The guy from Office Space is a banker that's like crazy. I loved how agile he. Yeah. I love when he looks behind and like the door like opens, swings. like he's like a rabbit. Like he just scampered out of there. He had shotgun traps like lined up around where somebody might be standing in front of the desk. Yeah, I thought it was just one shotgun that he was shooting underneath, but it was 3 exactly lined up next to each other. Yeah, every time he like what's his name? The bank robber. Every time he would try to shoot at the banker, he'd go pan shot and he'd block it with the pan. I was like, yo, I wonder if that would work. Yeah, his name's just Cowboy in the episode. James Franco's character. Yeah. But yeah, and yeah, he kept shooting him, and every single time he shot was on a pan, and then he just kind of budges him in the head with one of the stock rifle, or the rifle stock. This titanium built pan. And then I ended up feeling bad for the horses in this movie, because Buster Scruggs, you don't know what happens to his horse after he dies. Yeah, you don't know what happens to Franco's horse after he gets hung. A lot of horse casualties. They needed some revives from Red Dead. They didn't kill Lucky though. They didn't kill Lucky, the mule. Oh yeah, going strong. What was I gonna say? They didn't kill the dog either. They tried, but they didn't. President Pierce. They tried to put him down, but I feel like he did. I feel like he did that out of, like, he made it seem that he killed him, but he started to like her so much that he made it seem that he killed him just so he could keep him alive. I think he was just a garbage shot, honestly, because he was like, oh well, if I don't put him down quickly, then the wolves will get him, or yeah, I saw that word like he straight up messed up. Yeah, I thought he was just a bad shot. Yeah. I don't know. I mean, for him to kind of want to marry this girl, and for her to see her so second guessing the decision to like let him kill him, I was like, maybe he's trying to be kind of charming and make it seem that he's not gonna end up killing President Pierce. I feel like in that case he could have just defended President Pierce and said, "Oh well, we'll keep him in the caravan. So if you don't like it, leave." It seems like she had no problems with President Pierce going away. She's like, "Okay, yeah, just like how do we get rid of him?" Yeah, like she felt guilty about like
putting him to death, but she wasn't that guilty about it.
Yeah.
He had to impress Arthur.
Arthur, can you shoot my dog, please? Winks at him.
But I mean, I really enjoyed that episode. I think it shows, how likable one of the characters turned out to be, Arthur, at the end with his little rampage against the Indians. And then one of the more depressing episodes was Meal Ticket. What'd y'all think about that episode?
That was the darkest episode.
That one was just depressing. That was sad.
There was a lot of weird suggestions in that film that I watched that one and I knew I was like, there's no way that the end of this one.
Yeah, I don't know, just when they cut, when he found that chicken with the thing, I was like, oh, it's over.
Yeah. There's even a scene where Dudley's character realizes that he's been replaced. Like he's sitting there at the campfire and he's feeding the chicken. Yeah, and he's just staring at it.
Just oh my god, the chicken could actually go and eat, whereas the guy had to feed him, and you could just tell this is bad.
He has to carry him around everywhere he goes. He has to lift up his shirt so he can pee.
And then I thought the kid was gonna fight back. When he was gonna go and pick him up, I thought it was gonna be a scene where he bites him in the neck or something. But it just moved
away
to the next thing, and I was like, oh, I guess he just died.
I think he was okay with dying, honestly, because he didn't really have much of an existence. The only lines he ever speaks is when he's doing his performance. Other than that, they don't talk at all.
That is true, actually. I mean, maybe he just let him do it. He just had the gloomy faces. He got dropped into the river.
The way he's so... Oh, God, what's his name? Liam Neeson. He looks like such a slime ball walking back from dropping the rock in the river. He's got his hands behind his back, like he's hiding.
Yeah, he's like,
he's
And then you obviously got to suggest that once we get that shot of the back of the carriage, he threw him into the river, which is so nuts. It's damn, just like that.
Just
no loyalty in the West.
Yeah.
Poor guy is going to be freezing helpless in the river.
That's Dudley from Harry Potter. Do you know who that is?
I think people would enjoy seeing Dudley from Harry Potter treated the way he was in that episode, but I was like, man, I feel so bad for his character from the beginning.
He got it so dirty. I was like, man, I'm so sorry.
Yeah, it's definitely one of the longer episodes in this series, and that's definitely one of the ones that felt very stretched out. But it's definitely one of the more depressing ones that we got in this series.
It's very subtle too. There's little subtle hints of they don't enjoy their partnership. When he's feeding him the first time, he doesn't even make sure that the beans aren't too hot, and so you see he's trying to blow the beans before he gives it to him because he's burning his mouth, and he's just kind of trying to shove the food in so he doesn't have to feed him anymore.
Yeah, or just that awful scene with the prostitute.
Yeah, yeah.
He just turns them around.
Yeah, he's like, "Does your friend want some loving too?" And he's like, "No." And the prostitute says, "Has he ever had any?" And he says, "Yeah, once," or something like that. Which I was like, "What does that mean? Is he implying that he's gay, or is that implying that he knew him when he had limbs?" I don't understand.
I interpret it as they tried to give him some loving and it just didn't work out.
Oh, it would work out. There's actually a story about an old carny. He was he was a guy with no legs or arms, and he ended up siring 23 children or something like that. He had a lot of kids for somebody with no limbs.
Oh yeah, I'm not doubting his
his abilities,
his genital abilities. I'm just saying, that's Dudley from Harry Potter. Would it really work out?
I don't know.
I'm not sure. It takes some maneuvering. Obviously, the title Meal Ticket. Liam Neeson just saw this character as his meal ticket, the way to get money, and kind of. I mean, it doesn't really ever show Dudley's character, which will you kind of never see him kind of take advantage of the income they were getting from these shows. It's more of Liam Neeson taking advantage of him. And then
his whole payment is being taken care of by Liam Neeson's character, because otherwise he wouldn't survive on his own.
Yeah,
that's a depressing trade-off, though. It's I need to be taken care of regardless, and now I'm making money for you as well. You decided on this journey with me. I don't know. It's pretty sad.
Yeah, no,
Yeah.
that episode is extremely depressing, and it's the one that happens right after Scruggs. So you're expecting something like
Um,
crazy and upbeat, but no.
something more lighthearted.
Yeah.
Yeah, because I feel like the title really just encapsulates like what that guy thought of just a meal ticket.
Yeah.
There.
Man. And that chicken that could do math, man. I don't think he realizes like how long chickens live.
I love
but-
that scene. It just felt so like, oh my god, like the dumbest thing.
Uh-huh. I was trying to figure out how he was doing it. I was like, maybe he's like he's like doing something so the chicken knows which one to do. But no, that chicken genuinely knew how to do
Yeah,
math.
I liked how it was ambiguous. Like that genuinely was just a smart chicken.
What was it like? They asked the chicken, "What's 11?
11 twice.
11 twice 22?" I was like, all right.
Like, ready to go.
Like just so it's like it's not that entertaining. Like they're like, what's 10 minus 3? And then it just like going like ding, and
Going
then just-
ham.
I mean, on the same side, Dudley's act isn't that entertaining either. He's literally quoting speeches. I mean, he's really good at it, and his inflection is really impressive. But I mean, they're not that cultured. I was surprised that they knew that he was getting the right answers. I thought it was gonna be like the chicken hits a random number and they don't know the answer to their own question, so they just assume that it's
Oh, they just go along with it.
Like, what's 11 twice? And it hits 9, and they're like,
Yeah!
But I like that scene where like Dudley's like still talking and then they're just like about to get up and he's like, oh, like he cuts right to the donation. Don't sit down.
Oh my gosh. But yeah, I don't think they needed Liam Neeson for that part. I really don't. I mean, he did a good job, but it's like he said maybe 4 lines. And
Yeah,
then
he
sang
didn't
a
speak
song.
much other than kind of gathering money from the people, the crowd, and he's kind of telling his story. He's like he's been practicing for this long.
He said,
or whatever.
yeah, he said I found him on the streets of London or something like that.
Yeah.
He's like, he was like that when I found him, folks.
Sad is true. He's always just been blabbing the Gettysburg Address.
I was expecting more of a magic show because I think even the truck itself talked about maybe. I mean, I don't know. I mean, I guess it's just how
Yeah.
they labeled his
Yeah.
talent.
No, just the illustration itself looked very magician-y.
Yeah.
His little lighting setup was impressive. It was just like some flame lamps, and then there were these little blockers so that the lights would get bounced off of the little blockers onto the stage.
I was
wow,
wondering
that's
that.
pretty smart.
I was like, could you do that realistically? Like, is that accurate?
Yeah, I would say so.
Yeah.
Western lighting, I guess. Next to that, I mean, the episode I wanted to talk to you guys about, which was the very last one, which is very different from the rest. It's one of the only ones that takes place for the most part in one area or one location, which is the carriage that they're in for the most part. But what y'all think about that episode?
I thought that was a really good episode. I thought like each character felt very like defined in their own way. Like I really liked the trapper a lot. I thought like he was gonna be one of my least favorites, but they turned out to be my favorite just for how much of a
so
chatterbox
funny.
he was. Yeah.
Yeah, he's just interrupting people.
Yeah.
Like what did he say at one point? He like asked if somebody was like Polish or something.
Yeah, he's like, he a
Yeah.
Polak.
Yeah,
Polak.
Polak.
And he's like,
I've met a
yes,
Polak
I think
before.
He was Polish. He's like, I've met a Polak, and then that was that was all he had to contribute.
Yeah, like I thought like the three of them were like a trio that just like really fit together. Like that snooty old lady and then that like condescending Frenchman.
Yeah. Did you guys feel like it was supposed to be supernatural, or did you guys get a different I don't know, viewpoint of that episode?
I thought it was like a very like metaphorical episode, I guess. Like they might resemble something other than what the character is itself in the story. Just the way it ends as well, it's just kind of mysterious, and you see a lot of things at the end which we'll talk about, but I don't know, I felt like it was a very metaphorical episode. What it is exactly, I'm not sure. I know I saw this one guy on Twitter talking about how he interpreted the last episode as the actual Coen Brothers and how people accept the stories for what they are, and they kind of convince themselves. I don't know. It was this whole. I don't know if it was a reach of a breakdown of the episode, but I don't know. I mean, I feel in some way it might be metaphorical.
Yeah. I thought it was like it was the bounty hunters represented death. Like the guy, they even the way they do his facial hair and his hair look like horns, and then he's got like the little devil, like little triangle on his chin and the tiny mustache.
Yeah, like
And
he
they
reminded me
say
of the
that they're
stranger
reapers of
from Red
souls.
Dead Redemption.
Oh, dude,
Yeah,
you know what? Now that you said that, Chandler, that reminds me. I thought about this exactly last night when I
yeah.
rewatched the episode. So at the end, you actually see the doors the left door has an angel on it, and the right door has the devil on it. Or
Mhm.
it's
Oh,
vice
really?
versa. Yeah.
Yeah.
And also,
Mm.
while they're carrying the guy up the stairs, it's a big
Light.
lighting coming down the stairs, which is obviously heaven. So
Yeah.
yeah, when I thought
But
about
like
it last night, I was thinking these people might have already been dead,
that's
or they might have done something bad when they were alive, and now these bounty hunters had probably killed them off or something. But yeah, that's what I
I
kind of
thought.
saw it as when I rewatched it.
Well, there's the whole thing where they try to stop the carriage, and he says he only goes one way, stop or turn around, and then you kind of get a look of the guy driving the carriage, and he's a hooded figure,
Right.
which I thought was supposed to represent death. And
Yeah, he looked very ominous.
yeah, and then the bounty hunters start talking about how the people that they hunt down, they try to they never really he doesn't know if they figure out whether or not what has happened to them has happened to them, I guess. I don't really know how to word it, but when they finally do get to the hotel or that building that they get to, the last guy to walk in is the Frenchman, and he
Mhm.
kind of seems like the more intelligent of all of them. And he looks
Mm.
back, realizes that the carriage is turning around with all of their baggage on it, and then looks and he's like, "Oh well." He kind of gets this moment of realization that you can see on his face, and closes the
Mm.
doors behind him.
Yeah, he's like, I'm dead now.
Yeah, I think he figured it out.
Yeah, yeah, because like at first I thought it was just like a normal thing, and then obviously as those bounty hunters guys were talking about it more, I was like, oh, so that's death. And
Yeah, it is a
then
little on the nose at points. Like when he said,
yeah,
you could say we're reapers of souls.
yeah, I was like, they spilled it out. I was like, okay. And then when they got, I was like, oh, maybe not. But then when like
Mm,
they open the door and like everybody's gone, and then like the lights there, it's like, oh,
yeah.
it's death.
But that's the thing. Does the light represent heaven? Question that I have, because the man on top of the carriage, the body, they said was a one of their bounties. So
Yeah,
either
he
he
was
was actually a bad guy,
what do they
or
call him?
they
He was very much wanted.
yeah. So did that mean that he was actually a criminal, or by bounty they just meant another soul that they're transporting? Because if he was a criminal, why would he go to heaven? Like
Yeah,
it
I think
doesn't.
they meant another soul they were transporting, because then all the people they get would have to be bad people
Yeah.
if it was like literal bounty hunting.
So do they put the good people in the bags and put them on top of the cabin then,
And the
so they don't
bad
have to
ones
worry?
inside,
Yeah,
luxury.
and the bad ones have to be tortured with the thought that they're going somewhere and
They
they
get
don't know if
first
they get
class.
stuck. Yeah, it's like I don't know. It's just an interesting weird flip. Whereas you would think that like the good people would be the ones that kind of just get to ride in the cabin, but no, it sounds like the good ones are the ones that get tossed in a bag and then they don't have to worry about it.
They just have to just enjoy the
Yeah.
ride.
And then he even like scolds his Irish partner when he drops the body and like hits the floor, and he's like, "Bro, like we're trying to make him comfortable. Like, don't do that."
um, it being the last episode, I was so natured into thinking that you're gonna get hit with like an even bigger twist, like the rest of the other episodes had kind of given you. In this episode, I was thinking that they were gonna eventually find out that these guys knew they've done something bad in their previous up until this moment. So maybe one of them had killed their husband, the wife has, and then maybe the trapper had done something. He probably killed that Native American girl, and then maybe the French guy had done something else. And then they're like, oh well, just so you know, we're bounty hunters and we know this, or that, and then
Mm.
they kind of end up getting killed. But I don't know. Would you?
Yeah,
Yeah.
there's a lot of philosophical conversation that goes on. They start discussing
Mm.
what the similarities are between people. Like the trapper is like, "Oh, people are like ferrets; they're all the same." And the Frenchmen are like, "Yes, people are all the same, but you can never understand one person to the fullest extent. You can
Mhm.
only
Mhm.
understand somebody so much." And then the Christian woman is like, "No, there's sinners and there's holy people." So they had like this argument back and forth.
Yeah, and then what I like about that one, and for the most part, like the whole thing, is that it really feels like someone's like narrating like a story to you, just like without the narration. Like what they were saying felt like very storybooky,
Mm-hmm.
and I
Yeah.
just thought it was pretty cool.
Yeah, the Frenchman was definitely my favorite character that whole time because he's referencing the first episode when he talks about how his friend wanted him to play a hand of cards for him, and he's like, "No, there's no way I can bet because I don't know you well enough to bet."
Oh yeah,
So that's
Yeah.
what happens with Buster at the beginning is he wants to play, but he's forced to play the other man's hand, and he's like, "No, I'm not gonna do that. Stupid."
Did y'all think this episode was gonna end differently, or did you expect it to kind of go this way?
I don't know.
I mean, I was kind of expecting a revelation similar to what you were thinking, but maybe more on the line of how they died, like themselves. Like, I thought they were gonna reveal that like that old lady died, like, and she's gonna be reunited with her sick husband who also died, or like maybe that trapper fell like while adventuring. But besides that, like, not really.
I didn't really know how it was gonna end. The whole time, like at least at the beginning, I was like by Native Americans, and it's gonna be like Stagecoach. And all these different characters that don't really agree with each other have to work together to fight off the Native Americans.
Midway villages get killed by those Native Americans with guns.
Yeah, not a single bow and arrow in this. Well, no, that's not true. The bank robber one had a bunch of Native Americans with bows and arrows.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah. The one with the one with the pan man.
Because that poor guy gets shot in the neck, tries to pull the arrow out, and then gets shot in the neck again.
That episode was like, I don't even know. I don't know if it was more over the top than the first one. I'm not sure. They kind of both go well back to back.
I would say it is over the top, but I wouldn't say it's more. Because, I mean, Buster Scruggs literally leaves his body and plays a duet.
he trades those spurs for some wings.
For wings. I love the little trial that he gets when he goes into town. He's like, this man's guilty of rustling cattle, and he's like, allegedly, and he's like, allegedly, he's guilty, and then he's like, what proof do you have? He's like, we caught him with the cattle. He's like, all right, good enough for me, hang him. Like he's so like committed to his due process, but then immediately he's like, no, fuck, kill him.
And then when he's he gets hanged twice, which was funny. The first time he's getting hung there because of the pot guy, and then he gets freed, and then he ends up hanging around the wrong person apparently, and then he gets sent back to get hung again in the town, and then the guy next to him sobbing, and he's like, first time, and he's like, huh?
Yeah. I felt like all of them had like the first three at least had pretty clear messages, like, is that the second one or the first one was like, there's always somebody better, so don't get like cocky, and then that second one is like, you can't escape your fate, like if you're gonna be hung, you're gonna get hung. And I don't know, the treasure one, the gold one, I felt like was interesting too, because it was like, don't be greedy, I guess was the message.
Yeah, like, I don't know, like, work for your own. I don't really know, but I definitely got like that sort of like vibe from that one, where it's like, do your own thing and don't be greedy, like.
Right. Don't shoot a man in the back.
That skunk.
You skunk, you shot me in the back.
You skunk.
God, I love Tom Waits in that fucking role. He was so good.
That was so good.
He's just a rambling old man talking to himself. He's pretty spry though. He climbed that.
Oh yeah, like he's a.
That tree was tall.
That man's fit.
He's gonna get the summer body in no time.
I mean, I'd imagine so. These guys are so used to walking for so long that probably at this age. I mean, I guess in disease wise, you probably die much sooner, but fit wise,
yeah, he's been around for a while. He's real old for the West.
Yeah. Like, all these stories really felt like stranger missions, like we said, like from Red Dead Redemption 2, like, or just one, it doesn't matter. Like, they feel like these neat little like kooky stories that sometimes go nowhere, but it was just interesting to see.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, I was trying to. He calls the gold nuggets Mr. Pocket.
Mr. Pocket, yeah.
Mr. Pocket.
I'm
coming, Mr. Pocket.
I'm coming.
I'm coming, Mr. Pocket.
Out of context, that would sound so bad. Just like out in the world, be like, I'm coming, Mr. Pocket. Or come here, little girl. Come talk to Mr. Pocket.
Say it to your girlfriend. Hi, Mr. Pocket.
Oh my gosh. Yeah, no, this whole movie is so nuts. I love it.
Yeah, it was really great. I had a really fun time watching it.
Yeah, what's nice about it is, like you said, if there's a specific episode you'd like more than the other, you can always just go back to that specific episode and just rewatch it instead of having to kind of.
Yeah. Like, I've already rewatched the Buster Scruggs one like 3 times.
Yeah, that one drew me in so fast. I was like, the first 2 minutes of this movie, and I'm hooked.
Like, they could have made a whole movie on him, just been enthralled the whole time.
I want a Buster Scruggs movie so bad. He's just like dueling people. I don't even care if there's a
I
story.
know, yeah. Like, I just love seeing that character on screen. It was just so like everything he said was just comedic gold.
Oh my God.
Yeah, I think the casting for most of these stories was like perfect for the for how they were written into each storylines. Now that y'all have seen like every episode, obviously, would you prefer it to be all like the first episode, or are you glad they were kind of different in their own ways?
No, I'm glad they were different.
Yeah, like I think the anthology was great.
Yeah, if it had all been like the first episode, you might as well have had a Buster Scruggs movie. But I mean, if you didn't have any of that, the differences between the episodes, you wouldn't have. I mean, half of the episodes, I'd say 2 of them are goofy, and then the rest of them are pretty serious.
Yeah, like I like how they kind of cover a lot of different beats within this thing, and like if it was just like on all comedic, it would have just been kind of like not all of them were gonna land.
Mm-hmm. And there's a lot of references to True Grit. Like they were really trying to remind people that they made that movie.
Yes, when I was watching that movie, I was thinking of True Grit. I was like, "The what your why?" Like one character said that, I was like, "That's like what Matt Damon's character would say."
The old lady that was like in charge of the house in that one episode, the one we were talking about with the girl that kills herself.
Oh yes.
The head of that house is like a recurring character from True Grit. She's not the same actress, but she's the exact same like personality and character traits. And then,
that scene reminded me so much of True Grit, like when they were just talking there in the dinner table.
She's like, just grab it from her plate. It's like, damn.
And then the story that he tells on the in the wagon in the last story, what's it called? The Midnight Caller. In True Grit, what's his name? Matty? Yeah. Matty asks LaBouffe and Cogburn if they wanted to hear the Midnight Caller, but they don't tell the story in that movie.
Oh,
so
really?
It's like it's a little callback. I watched it recently, so I just remember.
Man, I love the Coen Brothers. That's it. That's just all I had to say.
And that's it, folks.
That's a consensus.
You just let it kind of float away, and I love the Coen Brothers.
I love the Coen Brothers.
But yeah, that whole I want like the book that they showed in the movie now.
No, yeah, I looked it up. I want is that an actual book?
I don't know. I don't think so.
I could see it being like one of those collector editions that they release like maybe next year or something with like the Blu-ray and
that's gonna be me in line.
Yeah, I kept trying to read like some of the pages just to see what it was.
Yeah.
It was obviously going to be about the episode you just saw, but I just maybe think you might have gotten a little bit more or something. I don't know.
So you can get a paperback version of the screenplay, which I think is just the book, but I want like the old looking book that's in the movie with the colored pages and everything.
I want like that just because like I could see myself reading those stories and still being entertained. Like I don't know, like they're so fun.
Okay, so no, it's not the book. It's just the screenplay. So it's literally just like, that's what the reviews look like so far. Hopefully they release a book.
They have to. I mean, I don't know why they just sit on it.
I would read it because even just like the text, having to pause it and try to read it, you get a little bit more information about the scenes and everything.
Like for the Mortal Remains one, like the trapper, I think there's something about the trapper knowing that he wasn't gonna have to talk anymore, which is another like, oh, it's probably duh.
Yeah. I don't know. I'm gonna end up writing like a fucking paper. To try to get that shit. I'm gonna get that shit published. It's gonna be a scholarly article by the end of the year.
Your master's is gonna be on the Ballad of Buster Scruggs.
I'll do it. Like
The hidden symbolism.
I'll write all about just like the last episode.
I mean, you could really write a full-fledged paper just on that last episode.
You could do it on any of these episodes. They're so deep.
Yeah, like they have such thought like put into them.
Yeah, I mean, knowing the Coen Brothers, other than just directing movies as well, they do a lot of screenplays as well for other films. So, I mean, writing for these guys is definitely no problem at all.
Right.
But yeah, I mean, I think that will do it for this episode. Any last words on this series?
Oh, it was really great. I definitely recommend it. All the stories were A+.
You heard it here first.
You just gotta go watch it, and it's readily available on Netflix. So there's really very little excuses.
And I love the Coen Brothers.
There's definitely, I mean, obviously, if maybe you don't have 2 hours, but I'm sure you at least have 2 hours at some point in your day.
You got 30 minutes to watch the first episode.
Even if you have class, even if you have class, you can watch it in between breaks like Chandler did.
Just plop yourself down and watch the first Buster Scruggs one. Just do it.
I was really hooked in like 2 minutes.
Oh,
the music is so good in that first episode.
Yeah, I guess real quick, the music is really good.
It's great.
Like every episode had, I mean, obviously other than the first one where it's actually him singing, the other episodes had really good soundtracks to them as well. Yeah, the music was pretty good. But yeah, watch this show or watch this movie. If not all of it, at least the first one. And I guess, I mean, I'd say you should watch all of them. But if you're only gonna watch one, maybe the first two, or you might even end up liking the last one. Who knows? Go watch it. But other than that, I mean, are you on any social medias, David?
Me? I guess I am.
Now you are.
I mean, I don't remember any of my handles though.
So no, he's not.
I love the Coen Brothers.
Yeah. I mean, alright, just Snapchat, I guess. All you'd see is just snaps of me saying how much I love the Coen Brothers.
All his shit posts.
Every single post. The Coen Brothers.
I mean, you heard it here first. Your pal Dave. Type that into your thing. Get some good posts.
You can catch Chandler on
Twitter, pretty much. Just Ctreon1457.
Red Ascendant. It's your brand.
Yeah, that's true. My brand, Reticent.
So
if you want to catch me on Twitch.
If anybody who's listening to this tries to put that as your username, no, you will get a lawsuit.
I actually didn't get it from Twitch. I was so upset.
Class 1 lawsuit.
So find me on Twitch. It's Reticendant1, but everything else is Reticendant.
You gotta buy the rights back.
God, made me so mad.
You can follow me primarily on Twitter at Video Josue, Video Josue. You can listen to us on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Google Play Music. Other than that, thank you so much for listening.